Hey guys, Zane from the Infinite Jukebox here with another album review, and today I wanted to talk about the new The Smile record, Wall of Eyes. While The Smile initially began as a project that primarily seemed to excite pre-existing Radiohead fans waiting for the band to follow up their 2016 record, A Moon-Shaped Pool, which, they still haven't done, so hopefully they get on that. The Thom Yorke, Johnny Greenwood, Tom Skinner three-piece here with The Smile immediately became something entirely on its own, with a sound, style, and a level of hype significantly bigger than any of its bands that it stemmed from have managed to really pull off in the past few years. Their first full length studio album, A Light for Attracting Attention, became one of the most beloved artsy indie rock records of 2022, and hype for a follow up album has been pretty huge ever since then. I mean, people have been patiently waiting for this album, and now it's here with Wall of Eyes, and it's pretty good. It's all right. It's okay. It's pretty solid. Look, if you're comparing it to its predecessor, Wall of Eyes isn't the most amazing thing in the world. It does not outdo A Light for Attracting Attention. However, as it stands, I still think this record is a series of mostly solid songs from a trio of extremely talented musicians. For example, there is some great piano balladry going on the album Highlight for Me, Friend of a Friend, with some extremely enigmatic songwriting, some very tender and vulnerable vocal performance work from Thom Yorke, as well as some sort of Baroque theatrical sensibilities that have all been pretty key components of Yorke's entire creative identity for years now. As the sort of vocal representation of The Smile, Thom Yorke's presence here is inherently the most important of all for Wall of Eyes' general success in terms of actual execution, but more importantly than that, his actual artistic identity is really what influences this record and is what causes his presence to be so important, because here on this album, if you are familiarized with his solo work, if you are familiarized with the majority of his body of work with Radiohead or any other given project that he's fucked around with in the past, then, I mean, what's found here isn't really going to super shock you or anything like that. The dark and mysterious but still deeply emotional songwriting, it's here. The very hurting and haunting and dreadfully bleak but in a beautiful way vocal performances, they are here. The very strange, again, almost over the top way of presenting otherwise incredibly dreary indie rock, that is also here, and it all comes together to really make up his artistic personality, something that created albums like A Moon-Shaped Pool, as well as albums like OK Computer decades ago. It's here, it's influencing the album, and I mean, you know what? I'm not going to pretend like that's a bad thing. The man is considered one of the greatest artists within the history of alternative music for a damn good reason, and I mean, hey, all of the elements that have made his sound are here. Fellow Radiohead member Johnny Greenwood's presence is significantly less felt here, but nonetheless his contributions with a variety of instruments, most notably guitar and bass, are still important just from an objective compositional standpoint, but really I think that the most underrated third of The Smile comes in the form of drummer Tom Skinner, and I'm not only saying that because he's the only person here not from Radiohead. If I had a quarter for every time I had to say the word Radiohead in this review so far, this isn't even a Radiohead album. Skinner's jazz fusion-y-esque drumming happens to add a lot of swing to some of The Smile's livelier moments, and during some of the more tense and dramatic build-ups on tracks like Bending Hectic, you get a lot of the atmosphere from a lot of the low-key percussion work that Skinner brings to the table here. I think that the guy is really important in developing a lot of the sonic texturing of this record and a lot of the overall vibe that the record gives off, and I don't think that he really gets enough credit for it for this record or for anything else The Smile has done up to this point, both studio and live. The main issue that Wall of Eyes runs into kind of comes in the form of some tracks just focusing way too hard on atmospherics, ultimately resulting in them having no real direction in general, either creatively or compositionally, despite still being aesthetically pleasant. Namely, the album opening title track, as well as I Quit and Under Our Pillows, act as the primary three offenders here, as songs that are sonically very pleasing, perfectly enjoyable, absolutely fine from a regular standpoint of just appreciating them on their own. But in the context of the album, feel like they don't really have much to do or anywhere to go, as if they could have mostly been cut out or at the very least halved in terms of length and not really had much affect the album negatively. In fact, I think you would have maybe gotten a net positive from that. Despite its faults, I still will say that Wall of Eyes is another strong record from The Smile that's only really outright weak if you're putting it right against its predecessor, but as it stands on its own, Wall of Eyes, interesting record. I like the general ambience about it. Instrumentally, it's very well executed. A lot of the classic qualities of both Thom Yorke and Johnny Greenwood's styles are found here on this record. Tom Skinner's drumming is really strong, and really a lack of direction on a handful of moments here is the only thing stopping this from being a perfectly uncriticizable album, for the most part at least. I'm going to give this record 3 stars out of 5. And with that being said, that is the end of this quick album review. I've been Zane from the Infinite Jukebox. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.